Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Herman Rutgers, and thank you for joining this special webinar organized by FIBO, Deloitte and Europe Active. I would like to pass the microphone now on to FIBO event director and recently elected Europe Active board member, Silke Frank, who's our host for today. And Silke will have some words of welcome for us. Silke, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Herman. Good morning, everybody. Actually, we would have met 2 weeks ago in Cologne now to do what we like to do best, to meet at the EHFF, which is the world's most important hotspot for the fitness and health industry, to exchange ideas on the day before FIBO about how the industry is developing and to discuss how we will continue to write this success story. It came differently, as we all know, in form and to a degree that none of us thought it would be possible. For the FIBO team, the days at the end of February were frighteningly long, also including sleepless nights. In the end, as you all know, we made the decision to postpone FIBO to October. A compromise which is not ideal, but which corresponds to the wish of many partners to meet again and consult during the current business year. In the days of the decision, there were many telephone calls, not a few of them with Herman. These days made clear how important it is to have a strong partner on an association level, one who unites many opinions and views. Thank you for your support, dear Herman. A peak year lies behind us, great challenges lie ahead. It will not be an easy road, as we all know, it will be a rocky and difficult one. I am all the more pleased that we at FIBO and I personally can make a contribution to this. Also within the network of EuropeActive. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the trust you have placed in me by the election into the EuropeActive board. I will do everything to live up to this responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Silke. Very nice words. Well, let me, in the mode of thanking people, thank on the Deloitte team, Stefan Gausselmann and Stefan Ludwig for their excellent job in preparing this report. And of course, it goes without saying that we need to thank our sponsors for without their financial support, this project would not have been possible. And I will read them out in alphabetical order. The sponsors for this year's annual report, market report, were Basic Fit, Excerpt, GoFit, FIBO, Ursa, MyZone, Techno Gym, Virtual Gym, and Yanga Sports Water. Thank you again for your support in making this possible. So we didn't want the publication of this report to go without some form of official launch, and that is really today. And we're very happy that our partner FIBO has been so kind to facilitate this webinar today. And of course, we would not do that without our friend and partner Carsten Hollasch, who will be our keynote speaker in just a minute to present the highlights of the study. This report, as most market research does, looks back and paints the landscape as per the end of 2019. And that is a very positive picture, as you will see from the presentation in a minute. However, we all know that the world is in a very different place today. In addition to the human tragedy this pandemic brings, there is a huge economic impact. The IMF yesterday published their World Economic Outlook for this year and 2021, and they called it the Great Lockdown, and with as a subtitle, if things weren't already bad enough, the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, with a forecasted GDP fall in 2020 for the euro area of 7.5%. I wish they had better news and seriously hope, and those of you who know me, that I'm a born optimist, that the IMF will be very wrong. But there are some encouraging signs in the development of the corona crisis in the last couple of days. And we've seen some loosening of some lockdown measures in a few European countries. But we are far from, this enormous crisis in the world as we speak. The fact is today that 95% of fitness clubs in Europe are closed. In northern Italy already since February, and in most European countries since the middle of March. Now, the million-dollar question is, how long will these lockdowns last? In how many countries, and what will be the business casualties? And the big question is, as a result of this crisis, how will 1 year from now, when hopefully we will have a normal FIBO and a normal EHFF in 2021 in April, how will the landscape of our sector look then? And that is why we've asked Carsten not only to present the highlights of the market report, but also share his views on the possible effects of this corona crisis for the sector. So after Carsten's presentation, we will have a short presentation from EuropeActive President David Stalker on the association's views and the actions in the COVID-19 crisis, followed by a Q&A session for which we ask you to use your Q&A functionality on your Zoom screen. Lastly, 2 comments. First, be aware that the presentations will be recorded today and will be published later on the EuropeActive website, so people can have a view who were not able to join us today. And secondly, the names of the participants in this webinar will only be disclosed with names and country of origin to the organizers of today's meeting. So I've spoken more than enough. So Carsten, the screen and the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Herman. Thanks, Silke. And let me also start with some thank you. So first of all, thanks for the trust of EuropeActive in our cooperation with Deloitte. It's the 7th report now. And I think we have produced over time the most comprehensive report which exists in the European environment. Also, thanks for FIBO of being that flexible and hosting this webinar. I would love to stand in front of you on stage and do a lot of handshakes and meet a lot of people we know from the past, but in those difficult times, we all need to understand that probably digitalization will also affect us going forward, and that we probably have a few more webinars than we had before. Let me just sum it up. The thank you to my team. You mentioned Stefan Ludwig, you mentioned also Stefan, but also to Christian and Lucas. A big thank you. They have worked extremely hard in order to get this report together over the last couple of months, and also this presentation over the last couple of days. So in the next 20 minutes, we want to spend over the following 5 chapters of the presentation. Most of them you know from past presentations. Obviously, we want to give an overview how the market, the European market, and also some specific markets have evolved in the last year, 2019. What are the major operators driving those developments? What has been the impact of M&A in 2009? Which trends have we observed also with the market experts discussed? And then obviously in this difficult environment, an outlook based on the past experience, but also sharing some COVID-19 comments, some COVID-19 experiences, especially also taking from our webinar we had last week, Herman, with the Chinese operators and our Chinese firm. And as we know, they are a few weeks further than we are, so we can learn something from them and can adapt what they have learned, hopefully. So in the chapter with respect to the markets, and the full report includes more than 130 pages. So we just obviously give some highlights here. We have in the value I'm going to share with you included all 28 EU countries, plus Norway, Russia, Switzerland, Turkey, and Ukraine. We will have in the report detailed market profiles of 17 countries and further basic information on the other countries. For the first time this year, we have a detailed market profile for Hungary included. The methodology in comprising this was in speaking to the market experts. So we have discussed with more than 28 experts, so nearly 30 experts here from 20 countries. So very detailed information. Plus we obviously had a lot of data sets from the national associations, especially in Germany, Norway, UK, and other countries. So also in this webinar, we won't do animated slides. We just show you the slide. So I will guide you through the slide and it will be fully shown when I click the next button. So you can see the market development in the past, as reported last year, was an annual growth of around 3.7% over the last 4 years. And with the last year, the CAGR has still been above 3%. So that's good news with respect to the figures by end of 2019. When you look at the major countries making up this development and making up these numbers, you will see that the 28 billion in revenue we talk about in the health and fitness market comprise of Germany and UK with similar 5.5 billion in euro revenue, followed then by France, Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands, and the next 5 being Poland, Sweden, Norway, Austria. And if you then take just the sum of the top 10 countries, you will see that they account for 80% of the total European market. So that's our driver model. As you know, also from past years, revenues, as mentioned, 28.2 billion euros have been growing by 3.1%. That mainly driven by an increase in membership to 64.8 million in members, leading to a growth of 3.8%, partly compensated by lower revenue per member. That's also been stipulated and will be analyzed further because of the budget operators who are the significant growth driver in this market. When it comes to the membership, it's twofold. It's both by new number of clubs. So we have approximately 63,000 clubs now in Europe. That leads to an increase by 2.3%. But even better for the operators, because of the fixed cost nature of the business, the members per club have increased. That also has to be seen in consideration that more bigger clubs have been opened, and therefore the average member per club has increased. Here you can see how the growth has been made up over time from 2014 to 2019, with Germany and UK being the main growth driver, but also France, Italy, and Spain have considerably grown over time. And if you take the other 7.3 million in members, comprising of Sweden, Poland, Austria, Turkey, and Finland, and then making of the 64.8 as mentioned before. 50% of the membership growth again here are coming from the top 5 countries, Germany, UK, France, Italy, and Spain. On this slide, we show on the vertical axis the membership growth over time and the penetration rate as of end of 2019. You see that the average penetration of the top 10 markets is around 12%, and the average growth was around 4%. You will see that still the UK and Germany, although being the biggest markets, growing over proportionally to the other markets here, and therefore have also contributed significantly to the growth in 2019 again. If it comes to the operators, we have again included detailed overviews here as shown on the right slide for David Lloyd Leisure. And David Lloyd Leisure here is shown as they are the leader in revenues because obviously their average revenue per member is the highest. And we have detailed profiles of those operators, the top 30. And we have in our analysis here analyzed those over time. So as you can see on the left column, there is 2014, and on 2019 you will see the top 30 operators again, and that compared to the total growth in terms of members of 5% in the overall market at the far right. And you can see how it's going to be set up between the various operator groups. We have split it here between the top 6 budget operators. I come to that in a second. Then other budget operators, and then other operators not being budget operators. And you can see that the significant growth comes from either the top 6 or the other budget operators. The top six being Basic-Fit, then Rainer Schaller Group with the main product McFit, PureGym, FitX, CleverX, and the Gym Group. And you can see that they alone here have a membership growth of 4.7 in this period under review from 2014 to 2019. That is mainly a result of a huge expansion into new clubs, both in the existing region, but also expansion, for example, like Basic-Fit into France, where they are now, as per end of 2019, the number 2 in terms of members, in terms of number of clubs in the French market. Yeah, but also seen from the other operators who have expanded both by organic growth, but some as well, for example, PureGym by M&A activities, and I come to that in a second when we discuss M&A. So on M&A, we have identified 17 transactions in 2019, following 24 transactions in 2018. Slight reduction, but still a very active M&A activity. I will name a few of those 17, which are shown in the report in its entirety. For example, in April 2019, Basic-Fit announced the acquisition of 37 clubs from fellow Dutch operator Fitland, with approximately 56,000 members at the time of the deal, and 3 months later the deal was closed. Basic-Fit has integrated those clubs in their club portfolio and has now, as per end of December, approximately 200 clubs in the Netherlands alone. Another operation or another acquisition by a private equity house was Bridge Fund Ventures acquired the British franchise operator Energy Fitness in August 2019. At the time of the acquisition, Energy had around 100 discount clubs in the UK and Ireland with more than 150,000 members. Some of you might know Bridge Ventures from their investment already in Viva Gym, who they have supported in becoming the leading discount operator in terms of number of clubs on the Iberian Peninsula. And Bridge was already invested in the Gym Group before selling their outstanding shares in an IPO in 2017. Another important transaction, not an M&A transaction, but an important transaction, was the IPO of the SATS Group, Scandinavia's largest fitness operator with nearly 700,000 members across approximately 250 facilities in 4 countries in Scandinavia. And they went public at the Oslo Stock Exchange in October 2019. And following the IPO, the company had a market cap of around 400 million euro, and their share price increased. And I'm saying that with a caveat, by mid of February, so pre-COVID, by approximately 20%. So also good development post-IPO and pre-COVID. We still have seen 2 transactions already closed in 2020, significant ones, one being, as I mentioned before, the UK-based discount operator PureGym announced the acquisition of Danish market leader Fitness World, and through the deal, which was then closed in the first month of 2020, PureGym entered the Danish, Swiss, and Polish markets, while also building the 3rd largest European fitness group in terms of membership for our next report behind Basic-Fit and RSG Group, if the world stays more or less the same. The combined group accounts now for approximately 1.7 million members. And last but not least, David Lloyd Leisure in February 2020 announced the acquisition of Meridian Group, a German premium operator of 8 health and spa clubs and approximately 40,000 members. As you might remember, David Lloyd had already moved into Germany in June 2018 with the acquisition of the former Health City Club in Bad Homburg, and formed their establishment and interest there in Germany at that time. In the report, we also show a development of the stock market here of selected companies. As you remember, before SATS went public, there was Benefit Systems in 2011, the Gym Group in 2015, Basic Fit in 2016, Active Fitness in 2017, and also, of course, Technogym in 2016. And we have included those analyses up until mid of February in the report. And all analysis, with the exception of one operator, is very positive. So the market have appreciated the development both of fitness operators, but also fitness equipment suppliers here. And I have not looked at the current stock prices, to be fair, but I think we will have an update on that when we talk and meet hopefully in September, October then. This slide shows the split of the 17 transactions. You see the source on the left side, the sell side, and who have been the companies acquiring those. And you see that the significant share has been sold from founders to strategic investors. Also reflecting what I did previously, there is an international and national expansion, like shown, for example, by the examples I've chosen here, David Lloyd, Basic Fit, and Pure Gym, into other countries in order to enhance the international expansion, but also, like Basic Fit, competitors in their respective countries already, in order to force, in addition to organic growth, the inorganic growth here. And so that is the main reason for those transactions happened in 2019. What are the trends we have discussed with the market experts and also obviously our ecosystem? As you might remember, we have shown that for the first time 2 or 3 years ago in the Cologne trade show, and I think it was very much appreciated that we have formed together with EuropeActive a view on the ecosystem of the European fitness sector, and that is emerging really over time, and every year we're going to show that it is increasing. It shows new participants, it shows new trends, and it is just much more than it was a few years ago when we talked about the various concept classical stationary operators had, which you can see here on the left side, the indoor operators, which are already spread around the different concepts, the different price points. Then obviously the outdoor operators emerged into the market, and we see more and more digital offerings, not only from the operators, but also obviously from outside technological companies which entering the market, but also from the suppliers who are enhancing the training experience by digitalization. I just took 2 examples here from the fitness app market to give you kind of a flavor. The fitness app market in Europe grow last year again and has shown 500 million in revenue with around 37 million paying app users, and it isn't perspective is that it is growing considerably even in the next years. Even larger than the fitness app market in terms of revenues, the European fitness wearable markets, they have had revenues of around 2.2 billion and 42 billion users in 2020. That alone shows the huge potential also the digitalization brings to the market, and brings not only to the suppliers, the outdoor and the indoor operators, but to all participants. Last but not least, also to mention the intermediaries, which are shown here in the middle left, which are operating different concepts, being it a B2B or a B2C, to join fitness companies, fitness operators, but also classical corporates, to allow their employees to train out in various sports facilities, and therefore being also an important part of this fitness ecosystem. On the next slide, you will see, as always, the trends we have surveyed with the market experts in terms of priority. So you will see that they share our view that the budget operators and the budget still is a very important part of this ecosystem, and that obviously also the growth will be managed a lot by the budget operators. But it also shows the top 3 trends, which are fitness apps and wearables, as I pointed out, in terms of digitalization, and indoor cycling has also become, in their view, more popular compared to previous years. 3 negative trends we have seen here are premium concepts, Pilates and EMS. Obviously, those have to be seen also on a regional and national basis, because also the status of the development of those concepts do vary in the various countries, and therefore this is just an overview of all market experts and all, let's say, interviews we have done throughout Europe. So let me try to give an outlook, and first of all, an outlook pre-COVID, as we did in previous years. So as I mentioned before, you have seen a consolidation trend here by operators taking over other operators, but also by new operators entering the market or existing operators entering new markets and exploring here and opening new clubs, and therefore consolidation in the various countries is to be continued. As you see, for example, here we have compared the market share of the top 10 operators 2016 versus 2019. You see the biggest development here from approximately 30% in 2016 to close to 50% in 2019 comes from France. With the emergence of Basic Fit, they have opened more than 100 clubs in the last year only in France, and I think the plan is still to be expensive here, expensive in this country, but also in other countries. France is followed then by Spain, Germany, United Kingdom, and Italy. In Italy, you see the lowest rate for consolidation at the moment. So if you take the top 10 operators, they account only for approximately 10% of the market by membership. And I think that will also be progressed not only by the normal development, but also by the development post-crisis we will see. Again, we have tried to extrapolate the market for a year which is far in the future. As you know, we have always taken this outlook up until 2025 because that was the original strategy EuropeActive laid out, so 80 million members by 2025. And we always confirmed this development, and it's again confirmed here based on the historic developments we have seen and based on historical growth rates that this is going to be achieved. We have also tried to calculate this by different scenarios, applying the higher penetration rates of other countries to this, and it all leads more or less to the result that if we're going to have the same development as before the crisis seen in the countries in terms of members, that it's still possible to reach first of all the 80 million in 2025, but also to reach a number close to 100 million in 2030. And David will also lay out a bit more when it comes to the EuropeActive strategy on this. But obviously, again, we all will need to see and look very closely how the crisis will affect all of us, both, as Hermann said, on a personal but also on an economic point of view. But I still think, given also the interview and the webinar we had with the Chinese operator last week, that the consumers will appreciate the industry. The industry might change in terms of various factors, but I think that the industry will stay its relevance and even probably become more relevant post-crisis than it had before. We have here the mega trends discussed with the market experts, which we have shared. We see an increasing impact still of fitness intermediaries. As mentioned, we see an increasing market consolidation. The budget segment has been the main driver behind the market growth, and we also see still the emergence of non-stationary and hybrid models. So the customization of the product is very important, and that's going to be forced also by digitalization, and the digitalization will also help us going forward in mastering such crisis, because those operators who could maintain their members while having a digital offer, working out at home, etc., or what we learned last week from the Chinese operators, that they control the entrance after the shutdown in their clubs, and also control the attendance in the classes with their fitness app, which is well working, would help the operators not only to maintain member relationships or enhance member relationships, but even to control the business better. So selected implications, which we see at the moment, and I'm very happy to share some thoughts in the Q&A later on and answer your questions. Obviously, the current crisis leads to a lot of liquidity shortfalls, and those liquidity shortfalls will hit those companies worst who are in a not good situation. So therefore, our estimate is that the number of clubs will not survive the current crisis. That will even enhance the consolidation, which is already going on. The business model might be subject to change. We already have pay-as-you-go or monthly payment models in various countries. We still have very traditional payment models like yearly subscriptions in other countries. We think that will change, and the operators need to adapt with their customization to attract the members and make sure that from those business models, the attrition rates are not increasing significantly. The awareness for hygiene in clubs will increase, and consumers will even more appreciate the contribution of fitness to a better immune system. I mean, we have seen a lot of positive effects from health and fitness. There are no statistics at the moment on hand how people who are active might not be affected that severely by the virus. I think that's also a good thing which the industry could think about, to have such statistics readily available, to again have a good voice to the public and underline the importance of the product for the health and fitness industry. Again, as mentioned, products and services related to home fitness will gain importance, and the connectivity to the clients, not only in the stationary offering, but also during their daily life, will gain importance. So digitalization is the key for us to the future success of operators, and it will even more important what we see from other consumer-oriented companies, that from know your customer to own your customer, that you are very well connected with the customer and provide them with an offering not only in the stationary fitness, but also via apps, etc., etc. And last but not least, as I said, one idea just raised here with respect to the positive impact in working out and staying healthy, is the fitness industry must really continue to publicly articulate its great relevance for the well-being of people and social life. And here, all the sponsors, all the partners, FIBO and also EuropeActive, of course, as a European fitness association, can play an important role. But it's important that all the national associations all stick together, and that we all have a good word to the public, and make sure that everybody understands that the industry is not only good in staying healthy, but also for a lot of other reasons it's good to be in a fitness club or training out or being active. So that's from my side, and I would hand over to Hermann with a special announcement.
Yes, the special announcement is that we have, for everybody who's listening to this webinar, a special offer for purchasing the market report, either in a digital form or in a printed form. I don't know whether I'm on screen, but this is the printed report, which has a lot of information that is not shared yet by Carsten, but every country is listed in this report in great detail. A top listing of the 30 top operators with profiles, rankings, a lot of information on mergers and acquisitions, and all the countries that we researched are in great detail also in the report. So only this week you can purchase it with a 50% discount for €149.50. So let the sales begin, let the orders come rolling in, would EuropeActive say. So with that, I think, Carsten, this was your presentation. Now I have the pleasure of introducing to you David Stalker, the freshly appointed, last week appointed president of EuropeActive. David is well known in the industry, so he doesn't need any further introduction. So David, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Herman. I'm assuming everyone can hear me clearly, and thank you for your report, Carsten, and your early words, Silke. I'm not going to spend a long time discussing the things in EuropeActive, so I'm going to flick through these. But as an introduction, obviously when this happened, we needed to review the perspective, our strategy going forward, and look at how to stabilize EuropeActive and make sure that the essential functions were focused through COVID-19 and how we were going to help with trade associations. As Carsten mentioned, we all need to be working together at this point and mobilize all our available resources to meaningfully support and create value for stakeholders. So we put together a COVID-19 action plan, and like a lot of people on this call, it's an ever-moving feast as we get different reports and different outcomes appearing every day. But we are following a strategy. The team and the board of EuropeActive have signed it off, and it has been aligned and written, taking in everybody or a lot of people's opinions, with an aim that we come out of this with some medium-term strategic goals. Can I go to the next slide, Kirsten, please? Okay, so just to cover off these points quickly, on member services, many of you will be familiar with the Let's Be Active campaign, and that has been consolidated into Let's Be Active at Home, so connecting with members during COVID-19 and member operators, national association partners, and looking at best practice happening at sites, helping club operators connect with their members and ensure that members return back to clubs as much as possible after COVID-19, and make sure that we're helping clubs with their strategy for when they reopen. We are obviously very busy getting weekly articles out, and some of them have been fantastic. They've all been very good. Europe's best fitness industry experts from academia, business, have written articles, and they're available on the website to read. And they're largely about successfully adapting to the reality that we now face, connecting with members, and the retention for successful reopening of clubs. Also looking at professional standards and skills. What will the new normal be? As Carsten mentioned, even down to the cleaning and how we look within our facilities, much will be different. And we continuously update those on the EuropeActive pages. Weekly webinars with experts are now up and running every Wednesday, and some on additional weekdays, and have been well attended. In fact, you're on one now. This has got over 280 people attending it, and we're really looking to critically rethinking the sector in order to successfully reopen the sector. So that's addressing social and mental health in addition to physical exercise, and looking at all the benefits of regular exercise, the digital infrastructure, fitness tech, etc., and to rush through the ones that are coming up. Digitalization of fitness tech. We've got Dave Wright from MyZone, Paul Bowman from Wexa, because what is certainly certain from what has happened is the barrier of location has gone, and digital is a crucial part of what going forward. We then have the largest European operators sharing their thoughts on the impact of COVID-19. That's really is Pure Gym and Basic Fit and GoFit and others, and will be well attended. Active citizenship, the environmental, social and governance challenges of opening doors in the current time, and we must be aware that standard and skills will be crucial, getting people ready and trainers ready for post-COVID. This coming on Thursdays, we have Hugh Edwards, who's the Chief Executive of EuropeActive. He'll address European-wide associations on the promotion of fitness and looking at opportunities there. And we have Paul Bedford and Jamie Edwards, both well respected in the area of retention, speaking also. On educational services, Julian Berryman and the EuropeActive Professional Standards Committee is assessing the need to adjust current professional standards in order to help clubs adapt to the new normal. Elements such as high levels of cleaning, we mentioned, hygiene, social distancing are all relevant and will be a high priority. We have round tables in order to deeply understand the need of training providers and exercise professionals. EuropeActive has initiated periodical online roundtables, and these have been well attended, and are really focusing currently on pressing needs and the need for best practice solutions. And those are attended by training providers and trainers themselves, so that we have a fit-for-purpose professional standard going forward. We've also initiated a wide range of assistance for our training provider members and our exercise professional registers, all part of EREPS. The initiatives range from discounts, postponed payments of accreditation and registration fees to facilitating digital solutions from our digital and tech partners. We can move on to the next slide, please. On the EU and public affairs, weekly reports on the sector's the COVID-19 landscape across the EU. The public affairs team is updating and circulating their weekly report on the landscape. We're gathering information from all other trade associations. We're looking at what's happening across EU and member states and sharing those with national association partners. There's a weekly roundtable of all principal national associations, and this has been well attended, and that we're looking at the political and public response that has been conducted at a national level. Through that roundtable, we published our sector declaration of support for policymakers and health authorities, and that has now been taken to the highest level at the EU, and there are many other concerted initiatives happening across the area. A central element is, of course, our ongoing dialogue with the national associations, and that will be crucial going forward. We're monitoring the EU's COVID-19's initiatives. This is really an area which we really need to keep an eye on, because as we know, as things have become more similar across Europe and the tragedies that have happened, there is definitely, we need to look at how this comes out in terms of sovereign or national strategies against EU member strategies, and bringing the EU member states back together to act in concert through the EU as their common agent. EuropeActive and the public affairs team is currently using obviously well-established channels to access available extraordinary funds, which might become available for relief for our sector, and to positively position our sector with the EU policymakers. Public letters for political decision makers have gone out. We've asked for meetings. Some meetings have been set up like this. They're Zoom meetings. and we're working hard with national associations, and many of those national association leaders are talking to politicians in Europe and introducing us to them. It will, for me, that will be just a key area, because we just have to remember we don't stand alone, and every industry is going to be working very hard at looking at their opportunity from what comes out of Brussels and how to pay it better for their sector. In terms of projects and programs, you can read them there. They are not absolutely crucial now, but they do not stop because of this, and they all go on. And what we need to be careful of is that our partners that face challenges, and that everybody is able to fulfill on what they need to do. If we go forward to the last slide. Is there another slide? Thanks, Kirsten. On that, Carsten, thank you very much. That last slide just lists those seminars, and I'll just use it to wrap up. So from an EU point of view, and where we see, we think there's going to be consolidation across the sector, and therefore we need to make sure that we are working with those partners and working with the industry to make that to be as helpful as possible. Digital is going to be the number one element of opportunity, and very preference focused, particularly with the growth in AI and things like that. And we want to make sure that we're seeing the best practices across Europe and sharing them with everybody. As mentioned by Carsten, immunity and that side, really it's our biggest opportunity. We are health providers. We have the ability to make a difference to the health of Europe and the immunity from that. And I really, really want to emphasize our importance with mental health at this stage, and our ability to work in that area. And ultimately make sure that EuropeActive is consolidating all the information, so as this comes out, our EU approach fits in with countries' sovereign or national approaches, and all associations feel that we are working as one united body in order to drive this industry forward. More people, more active, more often, back to whatever the new normal is, and more success in the future. Thank you very much.